My name is Ramakrishna. I am the moderator for this session. I think, sorry for the delay. I think I was not aware that I had to introduce myself first and then the format and all of that. But nevertheless, I think we'll cover up these 3 minutes during the discussion. So I'll call panelists onto the table, onto the stage. We have Paul Collins from Stick Sports. All of us would have been playing his games from last 10 years plus. The famous stick cricket, stick tennis, stick football. Some of these games are built by his studio. Please welcome onto the board. And we have Sailesh Dayanand onto the panel. He is representing Liftoff. Yeah. Liftoff is one of the biggest exchanges / DSP and SSP platform that we have in the industry. And also Liftoff recently acquired Wangal and I think Game Refinery and AlgoLift, and some of these companies are part of Liftoff now. I think we'll have some perspectives from Liftoff as well during the conversation. Next on the panel we have Arun, who is representing DataWorks. DataWorks is an analytical tool which helps in optimizing stacks and waterfall in terms of ad optimizations. I think he'll give more introductions during the conversation. Please welcome. And the next guest on the panel, we have Sahil, who is representing Audio Mob. Audio Mob is an interesting company which is trying to come up with audio ads. I think we'll have more discussions during the panel. Please welcome him. The next guest we have on the panel is Pankaj, who is representing Social Pita. Social Pita is an ad intelligence tool. I think we'll have more coming during the discussion. Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, we would like to understand the audience profile so that we want to understand how do we structure our conversation better. We'll have last 5 minutes for the questions and answers. I think we'll have probably like 43 minutes, like roughly 38 minutes. So I would like to understand how many are here indies who are trying to understand what's ad monetization or how to integrate, or what are the myths around, like let's say ad monetization, the basics of it. Please raise your hands. Okay. And how many people are here actually seasoned professionals, part of gaming studios who are already having integrations in place, but would like to understand what are the best practices and how do we maximize ad monetization, or maybe the challenges and the future trends? Okay. Okay. How many of us are here who are probably the investors or VCs and looking to understand the business models of ad monetization, probably that can help in your decision making and investments? Okay, I think mostly we've covered. Are there any students or interns or trying to understand? Okay. Okay, cool. I think we have largely, I mean, just to give you guys the view of audience for yourself, I think we have a good mix of experienced and seasoned players who are trying to understand the future trends and best practices. And we'll probably structure our conversations around that. And the next set of pieces that we'll probably cover would be the best practices, or let's say few topics around that. Is that okay, fine? Okay, cool, we'll get started. Cool. I think before we get started, I think I would like to take probably 30 seconds for each panelist and explain what do they do around ad monetization, and probably what are the latest things that they're trying to capture in the, let's say, next 1 year or so. We'll start with Paul.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Collins, and I'm honored to be at the IGDC. It's an incredible event. And I've been here a couple of times before. Anyway, I run Stick sports, which some of you may know because of our game Stick Cricket, which we launched just under 20 years ago, actually, originally online, and so some of you might know it from the browser days. And then we were an early adopter, or fairly early adopter, on mobile, and we launched on mobile in 2010, and we've been doing that ever since. Essentially, we've tried to do other things, but it turns out we're not very good at much else but cricket. That's my background. Our business model is free to play on mobile, where we monetize through in-app purchases and advertising, and advertising being the most relevant point of this session today.
Yeah, Sailesh.
Hello everyone, welcome to the session. I am Sailesh Dyanand. I manage small and medium publishers globally at Liftoff. We are a mobile growth accelerator platform helping advertisers acquire users and also helping publishers monetize their inventory with highly engaging ad formats. I've been in this industry for over 8 years, worked at ad networks like InMobi and LoopMe. Really excited to be part of this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Arun?
Hey everyone, this is Arun here. I've been part of this ad tech industry for the last 10 years. At the moment, I'm with DataWorks. We are an ad tech company where we help game developers for user acquisition and also monetize that. We are a Google certified publishing partner, 1 in 60 companies around the globe. So here to share my views and thoughts on how do you go about monetization in the next few years.
Sahil?
Thank you. Hi, it's really nice to see you all here. This is Sahil. I'm from Audio Mob. Now, Audio Mob founded in 2020. What we do is we bring audio ads in mobile gaming. This is a very exciting thing that we do because going by the trends, we are going to be talking about monetization. There's a lot of changes and policies that are happening, and we are bringing an incremental source of revenue through audio ads in game. And I work in the supply side, so I mainly work with a lot of publishers and developers who are looking to monetize incrementally. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all.
Yeah, Pankaj?
Thank you. My name is Pankaj. I'm a part of Social Peta. We are an 8 years old company. We are a global company, but we are very young in India, though we are very energetic and very enthusiastic. And this is our first time we are participating in IGDC. I have met some of you guys probably before. We are an ad intelligence platform, and we are helping our clients, whether it is from gaming or non-gaming, to scale their business to achieve more UA. Probably I will have some touch from the UA perspective to support all of these guys. Thank you.
Okay. So interestingly, I think keeping the audience profile in mind, I'll start with the emerging ad formats that we have in the market. So all of us would know, I am assuming, banners, interstitials, and rewarded videos as ad formats. But there's a lot more to it. I think, what do you think are the next, let's say, 1 year predictions in terms of emerging ad formats? Maybe Sailesh, to start with.
So Liftoff focuses more on creatives. We understand that publishers' main goal is to deliver a good user experience. But at the same time, they also want to generate the highest CPM. So what we've been testing in the last few months is long-form videos. So basically, it's a bit controversial, but we are delivering creatives with video length of 45 to 60 seconds. So the goal here is for the advertisers is to have a story-based creative, which will have the users engaged. And what we've seen is the users who have interacted with these kind of creatives have higher retention. So we believe that more publishers will be open to this. I understand that they'll be worrying about the retention, but it's a new format, and we've been seeing a lot of acceptance from a lot of US and Europe publishers already. So yeah, I feel that the industry would be open to even 60-second ads.
Just a follow-up question to that. I'm just curious to understand, after 30 seconds, do you prompt a cross button, or is it a forced 45 to 60 seconds?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we are leaving this completely to the publisher. They can decide, do with a lot of A/B testing and decide like which, and when they're going to use the close button. they usually track their retention as well as what is the ARPDAU based on the test. So we leave it completely to the publisher to decide when they want to have the close button.
Interesting. I think the other buzzing word nowadays is audio ads. I think we have Sahil from Audio Mob, which is actually valued at 100 million and raised mammoth 14 million in their fund. So I would like to understand what are you guys up to, and what's interesting coming in audio ads.
Sure. So there's a lot of talk going on about in-game ads in general, right? And so Audio Mob, just a backstory, and thanks for quoting the valuation, of course. So started in 2020. Obviously, COVID comes into the picture, but then we're dealing with the IDFA changes, and recently we are talking about Google bidders. So we really understood that there is a need to give a monetization opportunity to publishers which does not intrude in a way for the gamers. So have to focus on the gaming experience. And it's kind of intuitive to add audio ads into the games because the gamer is playing, and at the same time, they're not going on and off screen. You know, we know the typical user flow. They go in and out of the app store, not download the app, come back. Not like definitely damages the retention, right? So here we are. When we play the audio ad, the user is able to play the game continuously, and the audio ads are very contextual, very regional, so very relatable to the user from wherever they're playing. And of course, we give a companion banner for a click, so advertisers are happy. So we're essentially creating a trifecta. Gamers are happy, advertisers are happy, and at the same time, there's a incremental opportunity for revenue. That's how we're doing it.
Interesting. So to play a devil sport for you, let's say if I'm playing a game, I understand that if I'm playing a racing game, and I would not expect having a full screen banner in between and then actually redirect and all of that. Let's say I'm playing a casual game, puzzle game, where there's a lot of nice, soothing, relaxing music playing in the background. And don't you think your audio ads probably would annoy sound experience, maybe not so much on a click experience?
Very good question, actually. So, you mentioned hyper casual, then you mentioned puzzle. So the good thing about our technology is we have worked and tested with all formats of game. So we have seen success in hyper casual. We are also integrated with Play Simple's Word Jam game as of last week. And before that, we have already proven it that it doesn't impact the user retention for games like Social Point. It's a Social Point's Word Life. So. And at the same time, to sort of expand on the genre, we are also in 3D meta games. So, all of these games they're testing, we understand how the developers want to validate this. For them, it's all about the user retention. Are we damaging the user retention? Is there ANR's issues, which are typical when you introduce an ad network? And are we making extra revenue, which is the whole concept of monetization? So we have been flourishing in all of these aspects. So I don't think so that the audio levels create a problem, because we also have a fantastic developer relations team which will help you through the best practices. We always love to handhold the partners for our first integration, and then they expand onto all the games.
Thanks for taking Play Simple. I think he was just trying to pull my leg. I think I'm Play Simple, and I've moved out and started something on my own called Curious Bit Games. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to introduce myself also. I think moving on to ad formats, I quickly want to take a view on what all the types of other formats that we have. I think we have Pankaj, who handles Social Pita, which has a good view of all types of ads. Pankaj, would you want to talk?
Sure. I mean, as Sahil mentioned that, and you also mentioned that the audio probably can affect the user's experience while he's playing a game, and we put some audio. I mean, this is not the case always. I mean, we or the developer has to understand where exactly they are placing the ads. Probably there is a game wherein user is just playing, running a car, and he just hear the voice of a car engine. Rather, we can have a radio button wherein he can click and have some amazing ads, and everyone is happy. I mean, developer needs those players as well, those who do not have the IAP values, but they are free to play. They are using it as a free to play, but we can buy their time using their time and playing our ads. So it's like happy situation, win-win for both. The second thing is that since these are the gamers and they are there for the entertainment, we cannot take them away for long time. So while placing that, probably we can have a strategy, and we will not have the intrusive strategies to have ads. Probably we will not keep the ads, they are not related to their genre, or maybe we will have, or we can give them better user experience while we give them a reward that can be probably have some points, some coins, or probably extended life at the end of the game. So maybe that can have better user experience, and that can help both users as well as the developers.
Yeah, I think moving on, I think, I mean, just to give you guys a little more flavor, keeping the time left in mind, I think there are a lot of new formats emerging. I think there are stuff like app minimize ads, there's stuff like app open ads. Yeah, so I think you guys can explore on the internet. I think moving on, the next interesting topic that we want to cover is, I think a lot of us integrate ads, but we don't know whether it is net positive, or is it actually helping retention, or is it actually giving us good LTVs in the end? Am I actually making short-term money or actually making long-term money? So keeping that in mind, would like to understand, Paul's, your view on the LTVs, and how do you guys measure, how do you guys optimize at Stick Sports?
Well, we have what we think is a fairly innovative way of approach to do it. So everyone understands what LTV means, so it's sort of lifetime value, and in dollar terms, and it tends to be just, you're just looking at it from the perspective of your revenues, be it the in-app purchases or advertising. But we've abstracted that one step back because when you're talking about advertising revenues alone, what you're essentially exchanging value with the consumer, and that value is in the user experience that they're having within the game, and that's measured in minutes, how much time they spend, and then how much time are they prepared to give you in advertising time. So we devised a metric which we call the player engagement value, and it essentially measures those minutes over time of the lifetime of that user. And obviously, you have to factor in the retention rates and all the rest of it, and it gives us a user, so we're able to LTV the users over their lifetime and whatever amount of dollars they're able to spend, but we can also do it in terms of their minutes. And then from there, we can say, well, how do we define an ad strategy which allows us to maximize the amount of opportunities to place advertising in front of that user? Because if you've got a player engagement value of, let's say, 2 hours or even an hour, 60 minutes on average for a particular sort of hyper casual, then there's only a certain amount of advertising you can put in that hour's worth of experience. You're not going to be able to do any more. I mean, bar obviously additional models, especially with audio, which is very interesting because it's not because it doesn't stop the gameplay; it carries on in the gameplay. So we measure that, and then when we're devising where we put the advertising, we first of all split between display advertising alone, those which are just interruptive in the gameplay, and those which are rewarded. And obviously, because ours is a free-to-play mechanic, where we want people to engage in the economic system that there is inside the game, hopefully at some point to spend money in our purchases, the soft option for spending money is to watch a video for a piece of value back into the game. So those rewarded videos we add in. So the rewarded videos are designed inside the game design process. We put that at the very beginning. If you don't put it in the very beginning, you're absolutely going to get stuffed. You've got to think about that in your whole metagame design. And then furthermore, when you're even doing the display advertising, we think about it very early on, at which points in the reward cycle do we put advertising, and whether a reward cycle justifies advertising within that. So we tend to work on a single advert within, well, an advert once per reward cycle. We can't tend to do 2 adverts within a reward cycle because people get slightly annoyed by that. And then we try and keep it to, try and get it, 5 adverts per session in that user flow. But again, it depends on how long your sessions are. Because the basic metric, which you can't get away from, is the amount of time that people are spending in your game, and therefore how much time you can offer them in advertising before it becomes challenging. Because the worst, nobody wants unengaged advertising clickers, because it doesn't work. The value of the advertising, the eCPMs will drop. It needs to be a fairly delivered mechanic between the advertiser, the publisher, and the consumer. It's a sharing of value between the 3.
Got it. So I think a couple of interesting thoughts that you said. I think not just LTV, I think you're also tracking player engagement value, and also the deeper ones, like I think a complete ad strategy plus IAP strategy that you mentioned. So how do you guys manage? Do you guys have in-house analytics team, or do you guys like get these insights through some tools, and how do you guys manage?
Yeah, so we do to an extent do it in-house. Much of it can be done with tools which are available, easily through places like Google and platforms such as Firebase, which we use extensively. We do use Data Studio stuff. So what I was showing you the other day, we track all the advertising, we track all our revenues, we put it through a processing platform that gives us metrics. So our player engagement value is we can actually see that in graph form. It's not expensive, but it does require somebody to actually do that. We've managed to automate it quite well. So we did have a guy do it, and then we don't have somebody managing it on a day-to-day basis now. We have somebody just producing the reports once a month, i.e. moving data from one source to another, and then all the reports are updated. We don't need it daily, because nobody's managing it on a daily basis. Yeah.
By the way, I think just a fun trivia, I think Stick Sports is not a very big team, it's a very small team. So I think it's possible for us to get insights being small and having those ETL pipelines enabled. Who is best other than Arun to understand, how do we help people who do not have such platforms or in-house analytics data centers? How do you guys actually come into picture, and what exactly do you guys analyze, and what are the best practices?
Just adding to Paul what he said, right? Gaming studios or new game developers, think about your monetization strategy when you ideate the game, when you develop the game. Because once you develop, if you think of it, you're losing a lot. So it's all gonna be test and trial, right? You test different placements, you test different formats, right? There's no one success rule for everybody. Multiple things you need to test. And coming to what Ram was asking, and this is one thing I've seen a lot of even bigger game studios, right? They think, okay, I've integrated my ad mob, now I'm gonna get a miracle, I'm gonna get millions of dollars. That does not happen, right? It's an effort that you need to put in. You will get some X dollars, but that is not your potential, right? Now, for you to get the best potential, you need to optimize. You need to look at various parameters, right? Ad formats, your geo-wise floor prices, your placement of ads, timing of which timing you are getting best CPMs, as Paul was saying, right? Player engagement. Is there any player drop-off happening for a specific ad format? There are multiple variables that you need to look at, and this needs to be optimized day in and day out. Unless you do this, you're gonna get yes, but you may not get a ROAS, right? Because you're spending X dollars to acquire a user. So you get at least 1.5 or 2x. If you don't get, then you're just giving charity or free games to all your consumers. How do you make best? That comes with the yield optimization.
Yeah, just trying to play a publisher point of view here. Like when I'm working with, let's say, someone like DataWorks, do I have to really worry about sharing my internal information, and how confidential my information? How do you guys actually pull my data and then analyze? Do you
So
guys sit on top of my mediation? Let's say I'm on X mediation, and then you sit on top of my mediation and pull data, or how does that happen?
So how this works is we manage everything in your system. We are not going to bring our own systems. Okay, use this. We are going to get all data. All the data resides in your system. You use AdMob. You use some other mediation tools. Paul brought a good point. Firebase is one of the best tools currently available. It is free to use. There are a lot of paid tools available, but Firebase is where you get all the information, both on UA and monetization. So all data resides with you. We just access the data to optimize, to help you understand how do you go about your placements, how do you go about your monetization strategies, right? That's what we come in.
So do you guys use anything like AI or any technology at your site to optimize this?
Yeah, currently we are in the process of building an AI tool to auto-optimize the performance based on the CPMs, based on different metrics. We are building an AI tool. That's a work in progress. We hope to launch in the next 2 to 3 months. That is one part, but at the moment, even manual, right? A smaller team will not have the bandwidth or the focus, because game developers are mostly creative people. They're not data or analytics, at least based on what I interacted, right? That is where we come in. You guys do, you create, we analyze data, and this needs to go hand in hand. Even for anybody who do not use data, please start looking at your data. That will get a lot more insights, even to build a better game what you have.
Got it. So I think on the analytics and optimization bit, I think there's a lot happening. I think we can optimize stacks. I think quite interestingly, I think industry is also moving towards advanced bidding and real-time bidding concepts, so that we can actually work better for the publishers apart from waterfalls, right? I think the next interesting topic that we have for the next couple of months to years to come, what we're seeing is, I think, how to tackle privacy challenges, right? I think iOS has come up with privacy, and I'm sure, I think a lot of us have been impacted in some or other sense, being ad network, being a tech tool, analytical intelligence platforms, or publishers for that matter. So we'd like to understand how iOS has affected you, iOS ATT for that matter, and how are you guys dealing from each one of you's perspective, and do you think 2024 would be even challenging in terms of handling scan, the SK ad network, or what's the path forward?
Let me kick off quickly from the essentially the developer perspective, or the publisher perspective, or at least my perspective, because it's going to be very different from ad tech solution people. But we found with iOS, it was immediately the eCPMs would drop inevitably. But that was there was a number of factors behind that. But the most critical one, which you could do something about, was your existing ad tech stack, whatever that may be, whatever your networks you had, whatever mediation layers you had, and this, that, and the other, would need to be updated. And so there was this process of updating, which takes time, and not everyone, not all your suppliers, not all your ad networks are necessarily on the board themselves, and they get caught out as well. So it takes time for it to filter through, and then the revenues returned, or the eCPMs returned to a reasonable level back. And I expect exactly the same thing to happen with Google, or Android. The biggest takeaway, though, is from the publisher perspective. For advertising revenue, there's not much you can do about it. You just have to suck it up and see. You know, there's not a lot you can do. It's more an issue for the supply base, the people, the ad networks, the ad tech. They have to deal with things.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right? Let's say a lot of studios who are actually on the supply side of inventory of impressions are actually squeezed, because they're not getting higher eCPMs, while the eCPI, I mean, on the user acquisition front, we haven't seen that kind of softening in terms of iOS as well. So do you think publisher, not just stick sports point of view, but larger perspective, where do you think companies are actually squeezed in terms of returns?
I think they are, but it gets back to your business model. If your business model is driven solely or mostly by ad revenues, which admittedly it is for many people, then you need to always challenge that and find alternative means of producing revenue inside your game. And it's also about, from your perspective, it's all about what can you actually do about it. Because there's one thing to worry, but there's nothing you can do from that perspective beyond diversify your revenue streams. But you're not going to do much about your eCPMs. You're not in a position to do that.
I mean, let's pick a few points from Liftoff. I think basically I think you would have a better perspective of iOS privacy issues. Like if you're talking to, let's say, a lot of companies in your portfolios, like how are they dealing with it, and is there any outlier where they've seen benefit out of iOS privacy changes?
So yeah, like what Phil mentioned, we've seen most of the publishers moving away from complete in-app ads to a hybrid monetization, where they're also focusing on in-app purchases. They're trying to find a balance, but definitely not completely depending on ads. So that's why you see this new word from hyper casual to a hybrid casual. That's picking up everywhere. And in terms of benefits, we understand why the industry is moving towards this, and why even Google will be going ahead and releasing their privacy sandbox. So it's a dynamic industry, and we are also developing machine learning algorithms to compete with this, and ensure that the advertisers are getting what they're paying for.
Understood. I think one interesting point that you mentioned is, I think probably hyper casual studios got heavily affected with these changes, not so much on casual, you're saying. Okay, so I want to take a view of let's say, is there any way for us to understand scan better and optimize our scan strategies? Is there anything that you guys can help DataWorks side?
So before coming to scan, right? So as both of them mentioned, so what is iOS is on ATT, right? It is basically preventing advertisers to target a specific user. So what happened was all the performance advertisers stopped bidding because they're not able to target a specific user. So, but what we have seen over the past few months or few years, right, after this implementation, a lot of branding budgets started improving because they are looking at the bigger base. They are not looking at specific users. So one thing what we have done with our game developers, our publishers, we have helped them move away from performance advertisers to a branding advertisers. That is where the impact is still there, but it has softened up because that is where you need to move. Coming back to scans implementation, that is more on the user acquisition side, because that is where the bigger hit came. Because since you do not know who is your relevant audience, you just spray a bigger set. You started spending more to acquire a specific user. And that definitely, with the help of scan, where we implemented some of the gaming publishers in the US, we have seen a much better performance, because Facebook will definitely improve, because the biggest impact came on Facebook more than anybody else because of this iOS.
What do you think will be the path forward for iOS privacy changes? Are more changes coming along the way?
I think people are used to it, right? So based on some statistics, currently the opt-in rates for ATT is around 40 to 50%. When it started, it was around 20 to 25%. It is gaining. More people are opting in. From a game developer point of view, you would need to design aesthetically, right, that ATT prompts, because once your users are accepting that ATT prompts, then you will get more opt-ins, and that will in turn give you much better revenues. So in terms of from Apple perspective, they're going to continue. There's no change in that. They might come back with much more implemented, but we need to, as Paul said, there's nothing else we could do. We should adapt to the changes that the industry is bringing, and it's benefit for everybody, right? It's maybe impacting companies like us, but it's a benefit for the bigger ecosystem, and that's what we need to adapt.
Interesting. So was there any pattern in terms of audio ads? Do you guys have seen impact on Android and iOS differently with privacy, before privacy? What's your take on that?
So, so IDFA is a very close piece for us because, Paul mentioned it, right? When this news comes out, the publishers they know that it's an ad network issue, but at the same time, the publisher also looking at their systems, they're resetting it. Arun also mentioned it. The budgets are moving towards brand. So back in 2020 again, when AudioMob was founded, it was founded by ex-Googlers, Wilfred and Christians, and very close to how these policies are changing. They knew that the product that they want to make shouldn't be very fluctuating in nature. So to say in a sense, we are actually IDFA resistant. And the budgets that we are bringing in is from McDonald's, branding ads. And for them, this is a whole new piece. So it's a complete publisher, 30 billion users in the market. And like Arun mentioned, the market is also accepting it, so they're changing their ways. So they know that they have to take their brand out, get a massive number of users to do that. So that's what happened. In AudioMob, we said that we need to make sure that the ad network that we take to the market cannot let publisher change their strategy. So let's be IDFA resistant. Let's be privacy compliant. Let's approve with California laws, the GDPRs, of all those things, and at the same time maintain that gatekeep the CPMs. So just to go into a bit more numbers here, in US our CPMs have been stable at $10 to $15 for the time that we've started, and it's only growing upwards. And that's something that we've noticed as well. So that's how we're dealing with it.
Interesting. I think in the last couple of minutes, I think there are few strategies that we can pick to handle iOS. I think either to diversify your ad strategy from ads to IAP, think through analytics, and probably optimize it better in terms of your inventory. What portion of your inventory is going towards brands versus performance ads, and integrate with other formats which are actually immune to these changes. I think in the last couple of minutes, I would like to take a view on the recent changes probably Google is trying to do in terms of multiple calls in terms of their mediation. So I think in terms of ad network, do you guys are seeing any change in terms of caching, the changes that probably Google is trying to do in terms of restricting more than 3 calls to fetch an ad and cache an ad? How are you guys seeing the impact of that in the market?
Yeah, so what we're seeing is we're seeing more publishers moving away from the traditional waterfalls to bidding. One advantage anyway is that they're freeing up a lot of resources for them to focus on the game, focus on retention and other metrics. So bidding takes care of the automated monetization for them. And that's a general trend we're seeing, that more publishers moving to bidding.
Quite interestingly, I think Google is probably restricting that if they are not on ad mob mediation. Just a trivia here, I think Google is allowing to have more than 3 calls if you are using ad mob mediation and having Google as a network in their stack. While if you are actually a different mediation having ad mob into it, I think you can only call 3 times per an ad. Yeah, I think we've reached towards the last 7 minutes. If you guys have any questions, I think we will be happy to take. Yeah.
Hey, myself Anshul. I'm working in a casual gaming company, Moonfrog Labs. We have a hybrid revenue model in our game as well, which is IAP plus ads. So just wanted to understand 2 things from you. One thing is regarding, do you see, is it a good pitch to have 2 different mediations for 2 different platforms? Like iOS on different platform, while Android on a different platform? That is first. And the second one is basically, recently after moving to iron source, but we have faced it that ad loading takes slight more time, right? So it leads to players having a bad experience instead in terms of not being able to see ad to get the rewards. How do you guys suggest that problem we can solve? Sorry? Anyone who is.
Yeah. So, coming to your answer your first question, right? Uh, it's always better because iOS, as Paul was mentioning, right, that IDFA parameters needs to be set separately. The stack needs to be separate compared to Android. So it's better to have two different mediations so that you get the best of both, right? Because iOS has a separate behavior compared to Android.
Okay.
So suggested is to have separate mediations for both. One which is optimized towards IDFAs for iOS and AdMob or something M1 source will work for the Android setup.
Got it.
Second part, definitely ad latency is a very bad user experience. One user will drop off. Two, you are also losing an opportunity to monetize the revenue, right? So, have you tried something called a prefetch?
Yeah, caching basically, right?
Yeah, prefetch, right? And prefetch, even with prefetch, you are facing a delay.
Yeah, like at least after the app launch, it takes some couple of minutes to get the ad loaded.
That's interesting because we have seen delay in say app open ads, but usually rewarder comes after a stage of play, right? So you can prefetch say 2 or 3 screens before itself, and you can cache it. So the by the time user comes to the rewarder screen, the ad comes immediately.
Understood. Got it. Cool. Thank you.
So I had a question actually regarding audio ads. We know that Google Play has rules for all the type of ads. So are there any rules regarding audio ads as well, regarding the placements?
No, that's a great question actually. So we follow the IAB standards, of course, but at the same time, as a leader in the market, you have to start setting a lot of standards as the best practices. So for example, we have 2 patents. We do volume detection, and which is important because now we are guaranteeing audibility to our advertisers, right? They're paying for the value for the money, and that's why we set standards. So we set standards at 30% audio volumes. Anything below that, we do not take that as an impression. So we do not even trigger an ad for that. But for a rewarded ad, the story changes. Because of our volume detection, we're actually able to nudge the user to tap on a button, and the volume will go back to 30% and the ad will continue. So without the user having to press a lot of things. At the same time, we also do audio passback. So for example, a lot of users are listening to music while playing games, right? What do you do with that? So as an audio ad starts, your multimedia in the background will pause and the ad will play. As soon as that is done, the multimedia will start resuming. So, these are a couple of standards that we want to set in the market. We are in talks with the IABs and ensuring that these are the standards that will fit, because we are expecting a lot of competitors to join in this audio ad space. So we have to sort of lead the way, right?
So again, what you mentioned, that if people are actually listening to music while playing a game, at that point they actually go to the settings and reduce the volume to 0, the music and the sound both. So in that case, does the audio ad work?
So could you please repeat that question again?
When I am, or if any other user is actually listening to music while playing a game,
Right.
they go to the settings of the game and reduce the volume to 0.
Oh, got it. Got your question. Sorry. So we do device volume detection. That's what the patent is about.
And not the game volume detection.
Not the game volume detection.
So even if the game volume is 0, you will still be playing the ad.
That's right. But of course, with the user's consent at the same time. If their device volume is below 30%, we will take their consent and increase the volume to 30%. But otherwise, the ad will play anyways.
Understood. Thank you.
Hello, name Sutkar Sharma. I have 2 questions. One is ads, and generally when the ads come in television, for example, after cricket, during a cricket match, or in social media while scrolling Instagram or on YouTube, we all have become really familiar and we are like agreeing with those ads. But still ads are really highly hated in games. Am I right? I think generally the gamers do not want ads in games, and there is one reason behind this. Is a lot of small scale games and businesses, they run ads on social media, create a peak interest in the game, and when we download that game, there is a mob and a lot of ads there, which leave the gamer frustrated. So, what are your methods to stop this, like from putting too many ads in a game that can destroy entire concept of gaming? Because we are playing game to enjoy, not to see ads and get frustrated.
Can I? I'll give it back to you. Sorry, because it is a personal bugbear because we get we actually think quite heavily or carefully about how many ads we put in the game, and I recognise what you say there. There's some, and I've downloaded some of those games which the first 10 minutes is just half of the first 10 minutes of your experience is adverts, and you're like, I don't quite get the monetization model there. I don't really, well, I understand monetization, but I'm not sure if they're making any money in that. But we do get, and even we have, we use ramping structure. So when you first download, you don't get many ads, and then it starts to ramp up later. Nevertheless, we will get emails from people absolutely livid by the amount of adverts that we put in our game, and to the extent that we have to check again because they're so angry, we think, well, something has clearly gone horribly wrong, and we're just pumping them with ads, and we can't see anything. But it is depends on the user. So, some people don't mind, and as you say, they're quite acclimatized to it in certain media environments and certain consumption of media, but in others less so. And the thing is, you do have these reward cycles within games, and if you put them in the wrong place, it will evoke a response which will be, and it doesn't mean they think it's too many ads. They just hated it when they delivered it, when you give it to them. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll just probably stop here. I think we are running out of time.
Just one more question I have.
No, next panel is waiting.
So
We
a
can't
small
do
question.
that. You can meet the panelists outside. You can pick your answers. I would say, I think if you are representing a company, if you are dying out of money, if you put ads, there's nothing wrong about it.